When I caught Marcus in the act, he pulled the woman beneath him closer into his arms. He sneered, looking at me with disdain. Grace, it's perfectly normal for a man of my standing to have women on the side. Who's to blame if you can't have children? I laughed, my face pale. Fine, then let's get a divorce. But half a year later, he saw my swollen belly, and his eyes reddened. Whose is it? His Leo, however, took my hand. Sweetheart, slow down. My mind exploded the moment I received the photos from my best friend. The man in the pictures was kissing a woman passionately in the elevator, as if the two couldn't wait and something was about to happen right there. The man was still wearing the suit I had ironed for him that morning, and even the tie was one I had personally tied for him. But now, due to his passion with the woman, the tie was undone, hanging crookedly around his neck. My fingers trembled as I sent a message, "Where did you see this?" The next second, a phone call came in, and my best friend Chloe's voice was a little agitated. "Grace, are you okay? Where is he?" "The Metropolitan. Wait for me, I'll be right there." Hanging up the phone, I immediately drove to the Grand Hotel. Chloe was waiting for me at the entrance. When she saw me, her face was full of concern. "Grace, it's okay. No matter what happens, I'm with you." Maybe I saw it wrong? I nodded dully, then argued fiercely with the front desk staff, showing them my marriage certificate. The staff were unwilling to reveal the room number. It wasn't until Chloe pulled rank as a chiao that the hotel staff reluctantly handed over a room key card. Standing at the room door, I trembled as I took out the room key card and swiped it. With 2 beeps, the door opened. I stepped in with heavy feet and saw the wide back of the man, intertwined with the woman's fair, slender arms. The two heard the sound behind them, and Marcus turned his head impatiently. The moment he saw me, a flicker of panic and helplessness appeared on his face. Chloe's short temper erupted at the sight of them. She picked up her purse, intending to hit the woman on the bed, who shrank back in Marcus's arms in fear. "Mr. Vance," the woman looked pitifully at Marcus with wide eyes. Seeing that Marcus didn't speak, she continued, "Mr. Vance, didn't you say you wanted me to have your child?" Hearing this, the helplessness in Marcus's eyes vanished instantly. He sneered, looking at me with disdain. "Grace, it's perfectly normal for a man of my standing to have women on the side. Who's to blame if you can't have children?" My lips quivered as I spoke. "Marcus, what did you say?" Marcus tightly embraced the woman next to him, his tone mocking. "We've been married for 3 years, Grace. Even a hen would have laid an egg by now." At his words, my heart instantly plummeted to rock bottom. I spoke, trembling, "Marcus, you know my body got cold when I jumped into the water to save you back then." Hearing this, Marcus's forehead furrowed impatiently. "Grace, I married you because of that. What more do you want?" I gave a bitter laugh. "You once said you really cared for me and wanted to be with me forever." Marcus looked at me unhappily, his tone cold. "No one will shake your position as Mrs. Vance, but don't meddle in my affairs outside." When someone is in love, their eyes shine, but now I couldn't see that in Marcus's eyes. I gave a pale smile. "Fine, then let's get a divorce." Marcus's pupils instantly dilated at my words. He seemed not to have expected me to say the words divorce so easily. Only the woman beside Marcus sensed his body tense up for a moment. She felt Marcus's unusual tension, but she held tightly to his waist. She softly whispered in Marcus's ear, "Mr. Vance, how could she bear to let go of such an excellent man like you?" Marcus's flustered heart seemed to be somewhat soothed by her words, and a look of disdain returned to his face. "Fine. Don't regret it." My heart felt cold and trembled, but my anger grew even fiercer. With that, I took out my cell phone and began snapping photos of the two on the bed. Marcus angrily said, "Grace, what are you doing?" I looked at them coldly. "Gathering evidence." Marcus cheated, so I'll have the upper hand in the divorce. Chloe went wild, hitting them furiously, then gave me a thumbs up. When I left the hotel, I squatted by the roadside and cried. I cried as if to release all the grievances, until my voice was hoarse. Afterward, my heart felt strangely calm. Chloe stayed with me for a few days, worried. Seeing that I was only prone to spacing out and showed no other abnormal behavior, she gradually relaxed. The waiting period for divorce soon arrived. During this time, Marcus didn't contact me, but his social media feed was quite lively. He was either at the or street racing, always accompanied by different beautiful women. I blocked him, not because I was jealous, but because he was spamming my social media feed and I couldn't see anything else. A few days before it was time to finalize the divorce, Marcus called me one evening. I answered, a little confused, only to hear a ruckus on his end. Jake, Marcus's good friend, said, "Sis-in-law, Marcus got wasted. Can you come pick him up?" I replied, displeased, "Find someone else. We're divorced. I'm not your sis-in-law anymore." Huh? Jake was clearly surprised by my direct reply. Then I heard the sound of a glass breaking, and then Marcus's irritated voice clearly. "Jake, who told you to call her?" The phone was hung up. I sent a message to Marcus, reminding him not to forget to go to the county's office to finalize the divorce. Marcus didn't reply until the next day. I know. The day to finalize the divorce quickly arrived. I waited for him outside the county's office early that morning. Marcus arrived much later. He looked at my sun-reddened cheeks and said, "So eager for a divorce?" I didn't answer him, but smiled faintly. "Let's go in quickly. We still need to take a number." With that, I walked in ahead of him. In fact, there weren't many people at the county's office, and it was soon our turn. In less than a minute, we went from being spouses to strangers. Marcus stood with his hands in his pockets, looking at me unhappily. "Divorce is easy, Grace, but getting back together won't be." Looking at the faint mockery and condescension in his eyes, I curved my lips and said, "I know. I'm leaving now." With that, I hailed a cab and left. Honestly, I had been trying to let go of Marcus during this time, but the moment I received the divorce certificate, my heart couldn't help but ache. The love I once prided myself on just faded away. When learned I was single again, she insisted on celebrating me kicking the jerk to the curb and dragged me out to have some fun. Chloe took me to a bar she frequented. I had never gone to such places before because Marcus didn't like them. But now I was free. One drink after another wasn't enough, so I picked up a large drink from the table and started chugging it. Chloe tried to stop me, but it was too late. I quickly got myself wasted. Since was a partner in this bar, she had some issues to handle. I was temporarily left with a server, who was supposed to take me to a lounge upstairs to rest. But I suddenly felt nauseous and ran into the restroom. The server waited outside the door, but a fight broke out in a private room not far away. She quickly ran to find the manager. After I finished throwing up, I groggily walked along the wall in the direction Chloe had described. Finally, I found the room. The door opened with just a gentle push. Only a bedside lamp was lit in the room. Just then, my stomach churned again. I quickly ran to the bathroom. It was dark outside the bathroom, but inside it was brightly lit. I leaned over the toilet, trying to vomit, but nothing came up. Yet, I felt an intense gaze on me. I groggily opened my eyes and saw a man standing in the transparent GL shower stall not far away. His messy black hair was wet, his facial features were sharp and handsome, and his toned muscles were incredibly striking. I scrutinized the man from head to toe. His privates were hidden by a bath towel. I giggled twice, then stood up and walked forward. Chloe is so thoughtful. She even arranged a male model to keep me company. With that, I opened the bathroom door and lunged. The man tried to dodge me, but I hugged him around the waist. I was so drunk that whatever came to my mind came out of my mouth. So muscular, he must be strong. The man's body was a bit cool, which was perfect for cooling down my hot, liquor-reeking body. The man's voice seemed to be holding back immense anger. "Let go." "No. He finds other women, so I'm going to find other men." The man frowned, looking at me, and asked, confused, "What? What finding men, finding women?" I chuckled foolishly at him. Even though I was drunk, the bitterness in my heart couldn't be ignored. I'm divorced now. I'm single. I can find a man if I want, or a woman if I want. The man in front of me froze for a moment. For some reason, he looked familiar. Thinking this, I slowly approached him, groggily saying, "You look so familiar. Like that jerk's uncle." Seeing the man didn't speak, I rambled on. "But you can't be him. That Leo is so elusive, you barely see him all year. But you're really handsome." With that, I giggled like a fan. The man picked up the shower head beside him and sprayed water on my face. I was still gaping at him foolishly. My face was drenched, and a big gulp of water went into my mouth. I spat the water out on instinct, but the man didn't seem to want to stop. My clothes ended up soaked. The man's hoarse voice came through, "Fine, you win." Then I was pinned against the bathroom wall, and the man's eyes glowed with an almost predatory light. It felt as if he was about to devour me whole. For the man's rough hand lifted my chin, his thumb gently caressing my lip. his dark eyes seemed to be staring intently at me as he slowly lowered his head. The faint scent of tobacco mixed with pine from his body enveloped me. Just as his lips were about to touch mine, a cold breeze swept through, bringing a sliver of clarity to my muddled mind. The moment I came to my senses, I immediately raised a hand to cover my mouth, using my other hand to push the man away. The man frowned unhappily, his voice severely hoarse. Flirting with me? Looking at the scene before me, my mind suddenly exploded. What was I doing? But before I could speak, a pair of liquor-laced lips captured mine. I froze for a moment, then reacted by pushing the man away with both hands. The man's body was hot, and as I pushed, his temperature seemed to rise even higher. His kiss was rushed, and gradually my legs began to tremble. Not long after, the man grabbed my pushing hands with one of his, then pinned my hands above my head. His dark eyes held intense desire. Just as I was about to speak, the man kissed me again. His other hand firmly gripped my waist. Perhaps it was the alcohol kicking in. Slowly, my mind became a blur. Soon, he lifted me onto the bed with one arm. As he pressed down, my thin clothes were tossed aside. The man's hot, strong hand explored my body. For a long time, I felt like a small boat tossed about on a vast ocean, rising and falling. I couldn't help but rake my nails down the man's back, but that didn't make him stop. Instead, he pressed harder. After an unknown amount of time, I completely fell into a deep sleep. I was woken up by a cell phone ringing. I groggily answered the phone. The next second, I heard Marcus's impatient voice, "Grace, where's my dark gray tie?" At its demanding tone, my muddled brain instantly cleared. I spoke coldly, but as soon as I opened my mouth, I realized my voice was incredibly hoarse. "Marcus, did you forget we're divorced? Your tie is in the left-hand drawer of the closet. Don't call me again." With that, I hung up, not caring about Marcus's reaction. The soreness in my body made me frown. I opened my eyes and looked around, only then remembering what had happened last night. Just then, I felt an intense gaze beside me. I followed the gaze and saw a shirtless man. His messy hair and somewhat familiar eyebrows sent a jolt of shock through me. This was Uncle. Marcus's elusive uncle. I stumbled back a step, and the next second I missed my footing spectacularly, falling backward. Just as I was about to kiss the floor good morning, a strong arm caught me. Then I tumbled into the man's embrace. And I had to admit, his chest muscles were quite impressive. As I fell backward just now, on instinct my hand reached out, trying to grab onto something. And at that moment, my hand closed around something. For a split second, I felt the air solidify. After a while, the man's deep voice came through, "How long are you going to keep grabbing?" I quickly let go and pulled away from the man's embrace. The scratches on Leo's neck made my face instantly flush. I lowered my head and stammered, Uncle. Leo seemed to chuckle faintly at my address. Then I heard him speak slowly, with a hint of deep meaning, "Uncle, huh?" I quickly retorted, "Uncle, last night was an accident. I didn't mean to, and in the end, it was you who." My voice trailed off. Leo leaned lazily against the headboard, then I heard him ask, "You're divorced?" "Huh? Oh, yes. Then what kind of uncle am I to you?" With that, the man's gaze slowly fell on me. His eyes moved from my lips downward, then I saw his gaze linger slightly. I quickly pulled the blanket up to cover my exposed chest, then I said, I'm leaving." With that, I stood up, wanting to run away, but I didn't know where my clothes from last night had been tossed. How could I go out like this? But the man's intrusive gaze on me instantly made me incredibly uncomfortable. Without thinking, I grabbed a shirt draped over the bed and put it on. The man's yes kept scrutinizing me. As I stood up, he slowly asked, "Does it still hurt?" I looked at him in confusion. Then I saw him say without batting an eye, "You were crying out in pain at first last night." I vaguely recalled last night's events, and at that moment, I truly wished I could disappear on the spot. I endured the discomfort and said, I'm fine. Then I stood up under the man's gaze and left the room. Fortunately, Chloe's room wasn't far. My mind was a mess after returning to the room. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would sleep with Marcus's uncle. Not long after I returned to the room, Chloe came back. She told me that after she finished handling things last night, her mom called and asked her to go home, which was why she only came over this morning. Chloe walked along, gossiping with me. "Let me tell you, a real big shot is staying in this area." I replied, distracted, "Oh? Really? Chloe looked at me mysteriously and said, "You wouldn't guess who it is if you racked your brain." "Who?" "Leo. Marcus's uncle, the head of the Vance family." I nodded calmly on the surface, but my mind was in turmoil. I really wanted to tell Chloe that not only did I know Leo was here, but I also broke into his room last night and slept with him. Chloe didn't notice my unusual behavior and continued to ramble, but I heard he had a sudden situation last night, which is why he stayed here. The rumor is that some fool had drugged him. Haha, really? My smile was more of a grimace than a laugh, but I also confirmed something in my heart. Why did the usually aloof Leo lose control so easily last night? After I returned, I found some clothes to change into in Chloe's closet. I had put Leo's men's shirt in my bag, so Chloe didn't notice anything unusual. However, she saw the red marks on my neck and asked, confused, "There are mosquitoes in this room, it seems. I'll ask housekeeping to take care of it later." I gave a dry chuckle and didn't reply. When I went out with Chloe, I saw that Leo's room was empty not far away, with only housekeeping cleaning it. Seeing the small packets wrappers being thrown into the trash can by housekeeping, I guiltily lowered my head. Thankfully, Chloe didn't see them, otherwise, with her gossipy nature, she would definitely have inquired who else was in Leo's room last night. Although was Marcus's uncle, I had seen him only a handful of times. And I especially felt that he didn't like me. Whenever I saw him, his gaze always felt strange. So I knew very little about him, only that he was 33 this year and was the current head of the Vance family. When I got married, Marcus even invited him to be our witness, but Leo refused. Afterward, opportunities to meet him became even scarcer. Plus, I rarely went to the estate, almost perfectly avoiding all chances to see him. But now, none of that mattered. I had gotten involved with him last night. Leo was renowned for his reputation, decisive and ruthless. Even, the only grandson of his generation in the Vance family, had to walk on eggshells around Leo. I swallowed, then simply comforted myself that a man like him had seen it all and would probably forget about me in an instant. After divorcing Marcus, there was even less chance he would remember me. I moved into my rented apartment. It was truly moving, but after packing for a long time, I only had one small suitcase of belongings. Marcus and I met in college. He pursued me for 3 months. I hadn't wanted to get involved with a playboy like him, but because of his persistence, I decided to give him a chance. After we got together, he was very caring towards me. Until one winter, he accidentally drove his car into a lake. The ice on the lake couldn't bear the weight of the car, and he, along with the car, fell in. I jumped into the lake without hesitation to save Marcus. Although knew how to swim, it was difficult to open the car door underwater, and I wanted to help him. In the bone chill water, I smashed the car window and dragged out Marcus, who was unconscious with a head injury. Just then, rescue arrived, and they took Marcus. I, however, lost consciousness due to exhaustion. When I woke up again, I saw Marcus sitting beside me, pale and weak. His eyes gleamed as he spoke solemnly, "Grace, let's get married." Later, I learned from the doctor that I would have difficulty with fertility due to being cold in the icy water. Marcus's parents were bothered by this, but they couldn't resist the fact that the incident had made headlines that night. They had no choice but to compromise. I asked Marcus if he minded. At that time, his dark eyes were full of me. He said word for word, "I don't mind. You put your life on the line for me. Our feelings won't change because of this." I was so moved I almost died, and not long after, we got married. Because parents didn't like me, Marcus simply didn't take me back to the estate anymore. After marriage, Marcus and I did have a very happy time. He would come home on time every day after work. I would also prepare dinner for him, and he would occasionally bring me flowers and dessert. But I don't know when it started, his time coming home became later and later. When I called, he would always put me off with excuses about working overtime. I felt his change, but I kept deluding myself. I thought I was overthinking things until Chloe sent me that video of him. In an instant, the only shred of belief in my heart instantly crumbled. The person who was once so close felt utterly foreign to me now. He had changed, or perhaps I had never truly understood him. When I submitted the divorce papers, Marcus didn't question the property I asked for, as he was the party at fault. What I received was a drop in the bucket to him. Chloe told me to make Marcus pay dearly. I didn't. Wealthy people have many ways of dealing with things, and doing that would be no different from asking for trouble. Afterward, I spent a few calm days eyes at home, but Chloe insisted on dragging me shopping, saying she wanted to help me spruce myself up to welcome a second chance at love. I couldn't talk her out of it, so I had to go out. But not long after we started shopping at Westfield, I saw a familiar person not far away. Leo was wearing a black suit with a black shirt that made his skin appear even paler. He was very tall, and even just standing there with his hands in his pockets, he exuded a powerful presence to those in front of him. The manager of the high-end boutique handed several packaged items to Leo's assistant. As he turned around, I don't know why, but I instinctively turned my back. Chloe looked at me, confused. "Grace, what's wrong?" I whispered. "Leo." Chloe, being a loudmouth, looked loudly in the direction I was speaking. Where? I quickly turned and pulled back my loudmouth friend, but just then, I felt an intense gaze fall upon me. I looked up and saw Leo's dark eyes calmly watching me. Thankfully, he only glanced at me lightly, then quickly shifted his gaze and left. I sighed in relief, thinking I had just been overthinking it. I don't know if I failed to check my horoscope that day, but Chloe and I turned the corner and saw Marcus emerging from a luxury store with the woman I had caught in the act. After that day, I learned some basic information about this woman, Tiffany, a recent college graduate, a newly signed artist at Marcus's company, and Marcus's current rising star. For some reason, Marcus, with a beautiful woman by his side, didn't seem very happy. Tiffany was chatting animatedly beside him, but he only nodded faintly. When saw me, he froze for a moment, but then his lips curved into a slight sneer. "Grace, regretting it?" Before I could speak, Marcus continued, "Too bad, the divorce is already finalized." His confidence amused me. Seeing me smile, Marcus frowned and said, displeased, "What are you laughing at?" I simply replied, "Nothing, I just felt like laughing." Marcus had never had his pride wounded like this, and he became somewhat exasperated. "Fine, Grace, you've got nerve. When you love someone, you think everything about them is perfect." Now, I only thought Marcus was like an overgrown child, childishly ridiculous. I thought this period would pass peacefully, but Chloe was worried I'd be sad staying alone. She insisted on taking me to her brother's birthday party, saying seeing more handsome guys would lift my spirits. I didn't want to go, afraid of seeing people I didn't want to see. But she guaranteed repeatedly that no one I wished to avoid would be there, and eventually, she wore me down, and I agreed. I didn't see Marcus and his group, but I did see Leo. The memories of that night started to attack me again, but thinking about his reaction last time, he probably didn't remember. After drinking a little too much juice, I went to the restroom. But as I exited, I was drawn to the man leaning against the wall outside the door, slowly smoking. His back was to the light, his figure indistinct in the gloom. His long fingers held a cigarette, its red tip glowing. He smoked, and the pale smoke blurred his face. I froze for a moment, suppressed my nervousness, and lowered my head, preparing to leave. But then the man's deep voice spoke, "Where's my shirt?" His words startled me, and my raised foot didn't know where to land. Perhaps seeing I hadn't spoken, the man put out the nearly finished cigarette and tossed it into the ashtray on a nearby trash can. Then he slowly, deliberately, approached me. By the time he reached my side, I couldn't pretend any longer and turned to face him. I gave a dry chuckle. "Well, what a coincidence." Leo's dark eyes looked directly at me. Then I heard him say, "Not a coincidence. I was waiting for you here." I couldn't help but inwardly grumble, a big CEO like him stopping me just for a shirt? How stingy. Though I thought that, my hands didn't stop moving. I quickly took out my cell phone. ND looked at Leo. I don't have the shirt with me. How much is it?" "I'll pay you." Leo stared at my cell phone and said in a deep voice, "Where is the shirt?" "I'll go with you to get it." I was left dumbfounded by his words, but Leo stood naturally in front of me. The hallway was dimly lit. He stood with one hand in his pocket, turning slightly to face me. It was also my first time consciously scrutinizing a man's features so carefully. His face had sharp, strong lines, as if carved by a sculptor's knife. Beneath his thick eyebrows were a pair of deep-set eyes, sharp and resolute, as if they could see through everything. His high nose bridge gave his features more depth, and his thin, closed lips exuded an undeniable authority. He had neatly cut short hair, and his every movement radiated the charm of a mature man. Seeing his persistence, I could only agree. I had ridden in Chloe's car when I arrived, so when we left, Leo pulled up in his car in front of me, and I had no choice but to get in. But no matter how long I tried, I couldn't open the back seat door. Just then, the passenger side car window slowly opened, and Leo's deep voice came through. I don't make a habit of being a chauffeur. I understood his meaning and obediently opened the passenger door and got in. After I dutifully buckled my seatbelt, I don't know if it was my imagination, but I swear I saw a faint smirk on the man's lips in the rearview mirror. We soon arrived at my apartment. I offered to go up and bring the shirt down to Leo, but got out of the car with me. He looked at me calmly and said slowly, "I'll go up with you to get it." Seeing my hesitation, the man chuckled. "What? Are you scared of me?" I gave a dry chuckle, indicating no. Soon, Leo followed me upstairs. The moment I opened the door, a large hand seized my wrist. Then, with a crisp click of the door closing, I was pinned against the cabinet by the door by Leo in a strange posture. In the dim light, the man's eyes glowed with an unsettling intensity. I snapped out of it and struggled, saying, "Uncle, what are you doing?" Leo shed his detached demeanor, and I saw his lips curl into a mischievous smirk. He slowly said, "Didn't you get a divorce? What kind of uncle am I to you then?" "Well, you're still a senior. I'm only 5 years older than you." "How does that make me a senior?" The man's large hand traced my chin. I felt as if he was about to kiss me at any moment. I struggled, trying to pull away, but then I heard him say softly, "You made the first move on me, so I'm not acting out of line." "What? Don't you remember?" Before I could question him, a kiss with a faint scent of tobacco blocked my lips. My eyes widened. My struggles had no effect against the man. He could control both my hands with just one of his. It wasn't until I was breathless from the kiss that the man let me go. Seeing my tear-filled eyes, Leo's rough hand gently wiped the moisture from the corners of my eyes. His voice was severely hoarse. "So prone to crying?" He released my wrist. I slapped Leo's face. You bastard." He turned his head slightly from the impact, and a few red marks quickly appeared on his pale skin, but didn't seem to care. He looked down at me and asked, "Done hitting me? Feeling better?" Then his hand rested on top of my head, and he pulled me into his arms. Leo's deep voice resonated in my ear, "Now it's my turn to settle the score." "Settle what score?" "9, don't you remember?" "What? You used to sweetly call me hubby." As said this, his large hand playfully squeezed my waist, and in an instant, something clicked in my memory. The year I started college, my roommate got me into playing video games. I was never good at games. I always ended in defeat. Later, my roommate gave me an idea: find a boyfriend to play with me. I was desperate enough then that I actually thought this method was viable. I thought I was being clever at the time, reasoning that since I was just trying to level up my character, I should find someone good at playing games. So, during game matching, I added a high-level account as a friend. This person was very aloof. After accepting my friend request, he gave only curt replies to my messages. It wasn't until later that I confessed to him, even sending him my retouched photos to flirt with him. At first, he was still very cold, but then my roommate taught me a few corny pickup lines she learned online, and to my surprise, he actually agreed. Then began a 3-month online relationship, or what you could call a training partnership. Until one time, my roommate saw the account and asked, confused, "This account looks so familiar. I think I've seen it before." It wasn't until my roommate told me later that this account belonged to a graduate student in our school's computer science department that I decisively broke up with him. He was so close, it would be awkward if he asked to meet. After the breakup, he seemed to vanish. It wasn't until Marcus pursued me later that I had almost forgotten about this incident. Then we got together. No wonder Leo looked at me strangely the first time I met him. I had thought he just believed a woman of modest means like me wasn't good enough for his nephew. While I was lost in thought, Leo leaned down close to me and slowly asked, "Remember now? Weren't you supposed to be working at the company then? I heard Marcus say you took over the family business right after graduating college. So, I can't be a graduate student while working?" Seeing me standing there, dumbfounded and silent, Leo chuckled softly. "Why aren't you saying anything?" I didn't mean to. I didn't know it was you then." "It's fine. Just don't try to pull that stunt on me again in the future." What do you mean? What do you think? You're single now, and so am I." "What do you think I mean? But I'm your nephew's ex-wife." "I don't care. If you hadn't been so insistent on marrying him back then, I would have tried to steal you away myself." He gently touched my face, then I heard him add, but he didn't appreciate you. Now you're back in my hands. Just as I was about to speak, I felt a wave of nausea. I dry heaved for a long time, but nothing came up. Leo looked at me with concern, his eyebrows furrowed. Do I make you that sick?